the proper city. Well, Garrett?
Dude, 5.0 Shadowbringers is the greatest thing I've experienced in a game in a really long time.
But that's not what we're talking about yet today.
Wait, what?
Today we're talking about fist bumps of light and time travel and the fish people needing a lamp.
But Kyle, I've seen the end.
And that's why people watch streams.
Whether you will it or no, your mere existence will serve to engulf the world in light. Those in your company will likewise turn into sin-eaters, and in time you will succumb to your base instincts and hunt innocents to feast on their sweet, sweet ether.
I love the sense of melancholy that falls over the Warrior of Light and kind of our arc up to this point. Like, we lose. Full stop. Like, we lose. The light sky returns to the first. It's wondrous, and I wanted the game to wallow in this more. We get right back to good old anime power of friendship, like, immediately. I wish we were heading to the Tempest, like, kind of still down, like, without a pep talk from our friends. Like imagine if we were still, like, if they played the whale portion a little bit differently. Imagine if, like, we were still like, we suck to the point of getting to Bismarck, and then maybe our Burton Fayol shows up there, and we are emotionally lifted to the sky while also literally being lifted to the sky with Bismarck, as opposed to Warrior of Light already kind of having been given it the rallying pep talk long before we even go find the whale.
I agree with you. I think our friend showed up a little quick, which by the power of friendship works. Like, that is the theme of this game, and our scions are a family. We are going to travel together. I love the Oriange apology. Unnecessary, dude, but thank you for prostrating yourself and all this.
He's a complicated character that we multiple times over the course of our, like, this first ever playthrough of Shadowbringers have said we don't trust him. So by the time he delivers the apology, I'm like, I don't need it. You can go back and watch the stream. I was even saying, like, dude, get over it. Let's go. We have work to do.
There's a great action moment at the end of the Crystal Exarch Echo, where you and Ardbird kind of rally together, anime fists clenched, and head to the vampires later, head down to the Tempest. But all of our friends join. If we had perhaps had to look around for our friends, maybe a little bit, maybe explored the land, gathered them one by one, may have been a little laborious. If anything, I would love just a little moment, perhaps with Alize, a little one-on-one scion action as we're the ones who go investigate the whale, as we're the ones who tries to take it to the Tempest by ourselves. Maybe in a noble sacrifice kind of way. We can't have you all join, but for the purposes of the story and likely trusts and dungeon mechanics, all of our scions come along.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fan rewrite at this point. It's minor. I've seen the end. I know what's coming, but I loved the melancholy Empire Strikes Backness of it all, and I wanted that to last longer. To me, the power of friendship came back too fast, and then we were thrust into hanging out with a fish person tribe, like, immediately. This is the one time where I felt the MMO-ness of it kind of got in the way of the narrative.
It's an interesting conundrum. You have to give an adventure some downtime, and we got a little bit of that in the Crystera. Maybe we wanted more. You have to give adventure some actual adventuring, some exploring, and we get that in the Tempest. In a traditional RPG, let's talk about, like, maybe a turn-based one, you would do the Gauntlet. It'd be a long, strung-out dungeon where you have a lot of repeat fights over and over and over again. So that you build that sense of travel, that journey, that struggle to make it to your destination. Final Fantasy XIV is a emotion-based story. So when we have to go kill 3 crabs, there's kind of this weird disconnect where your brain goes, well, wait a minute. That's not what I wanted here. I also believe that they work in an introduction into the main storyline to what is going to be your end game dailies with your beast tribes. Here we spend a lot of time getting to know the fish people. It doesn't feel very essential, but if you were in the grind mindset that you are going to complete this expansion and go a grinding, getting introduced to each one of these little hubs would mean later on you know where you're going and what stories you might want to explore. And we've heard from a lot of people who really enjoy the various tribes storylines. Let's rewind the clock a little bit here and go back to the Unbroken Thread. Grahatia describing...
Are you telling me that you want to go back to the future?
I want to go back to the... Yes. I want to talk about the future.
In the past.
In the past. We get the big reveal that Grahatia is in fact Grahatia, but is also the Crystal Exarch, who is also a time/world traveler who has made it here to the First in order to save the Source's future.
I loved how they did this, by the way, with us. We first have to ask around town, like, hey, does anyone know about the Exarch? And then they're like, hey, go to Lena. She was basically raised as a daughter of the Exarch. And I thought, because like the first couple of people we talked to, it's just like little glimpses into, it's like they're not even voice acted, and it's just, here's something about the Crystal Exarch's past. I thought Lena was going to be more of that, maybe a little more important because of her connection to the Exarch. But when she immediately goes, oh yeah, no, he gave me a key and he told me that I would know when the time was right, and there's a secret room in the Crystarium that you're going to go to, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, wonderful, there's meat here. Also, it was just a really good excuse to bring out Lena again, who has become a bit of a favorite of mine, even though we really haven't seen her since that awesome voice acting scene when then Vothri shows up with this stupid ass blimp.
It's a good emotional scene, but it also conveys a bit of information that I was curious about. Why does Lena keep walking into the Crystal Tower all casual like? Well, because she was raised by the Crystal Exarch.
Was this as much your shit as I expected it was? Like, we go to the Ocular. It's, I mean, like, hi everybody. I've been friends with Kyle a long time, and if there's one thing I know Kyle likes, it's where the wizard hangs out.
It would be a little orb light on the pondering, but I think it was a decent little wizard's room.
I mean, there was kind of an orb thing in the wall. Within the visual language of Alligans, this is about as close as you're going to get to orbs.
And since Grahatia's life force is tied to the Crystal Tower, I don't think he needs to eat. Maybe he doesn't even really need to sit down. So it doesn't really have to feel more lived in than a bunch of books piled around. Might not even sleep. I'm pretty sure he doesn't sleep.
I mean, he's all telling us to rest. We never see him rest.
Yeah.
Although I guess we don't really ever see any of our Scions rest unless they're like, they almost got killed by Xenos or something.
I mean, really, I just love Oriange's reaction of all the people to be like, rest mine head. This is too much for me. Oriange is just comical in the fact that he would be floored by this information.
Yeah, I like this. I like this whole bit. We've been reminded that this isn't the first time that time travel has come up. I don't count Alexander. I think that story is really silly, and it has just I don't keep it in my brain. I think Sky Pirates is the only raid I like the story of.
Yeah, we'll see about this near business coming up.
Alexander was only an 8-man though, right? That wasn't the 20. That wasn't the Alliance raid. Yeah. So never mind. Because what's the other 8-man we did?
Omega.
Oh, I do like Omega.
Omega's cute. Well, it's important to think about those things because here in this scene, the Exarch tells us that Sid, like a badass, survived the 8th calamity and started looking for solutions. Based on the Warrior of Light's adventures, Sid comes up with a theory that one could enter the rivers of time and leap between worlds based on our adventures. So, yes, this is where we can factor in Alexander, Crystal Tower, particularly like World of Darkness, and maybe to a lesser extent Omega, because that was kind of a different like pocket dimension world.
So, sort of, kind of, yeah, but it's still canon, still part of Final Fantasy XIV.
You can bring up Alexander as a they've already done time travel kind of dunk, but cheese wizardry, like it was silly. It was not something that I'd said, this is now like full like functioning canon and shove it into the story. Like obviously Crystal Tower, we've done that a lot. We've explored Crystal Tower a lot in this MSQ, but time travel boyfriend in the Matrix, it was weird. Alexander was super weird.
The only story I care less about in Final Fantasy XIV is Ivalice.
He also says that Sid and his friends died of old age.
Yeah, so that's not Biggs.
No, that is not Biggs. That would be his grandson, since we seem to be 2 centuries. Crystal Exarch says, after 2 centuries of labor. So that would be grandson Biggs, perhaps. I also love the idea that we missed some sort of fabulous scene where like little baby grandson Biggs is like, no, Grandpa Nero, honorary Grandpa Nero is like there and he like takes off his sunglasses like, here you go.
Oh, wait, are you telling me that your headcanon is Nero's sunglasses?
Yes, that is my headcanon. And that he was like, here you go, I dubbed thee gun-toting compatriot. And he put the sunglasses on him and like tears streamed from underneath them. And Grahatia was there. He's like, we have to go. It's a beautiful scene. Yep, a beautiful scene. It'll come out in like a Netflix anime someday.
I like time travel, even though it can be very messy and can really screw things up when it's introduced into major plots like this. But they don't linger on it too much. It's just kind of revealed that Grahatia is our Grahatia from the future. And they don't belabor what their rules are for time travel or the danger of his quest, which is a big part of a lot of other time travel stories. And I like that. Like, I accept it. What is more important is, again, that emotional resonance of what this all means for Grahatia, how old Grahatia is, how much Grahatia has seen, and how it has affected him. And also, we also get a little read into Urianger, that Urianger ain't no snitch.
And it's purposely messy, which allows the rules to maintain that nebulous fantasy feel, such as Grahatia saying,
we missed our mark by almost an entire century.
Good, it's not a perfect system. We also get into how if Grahatia is successful, he's going to unravel himself, Marty McFly style. He's going to cease to exist when he saves the world. More on that in another video, if that's actually going to happen or not. And since Urianger has already toyed with dimensions and messing with outcomes, he's the perfect person for Grahatia to rely on for this big scheme he's pulling, which is they have to have someone with the Blessing of Light to pull this off. That Blessing of Light is coming back big. And who better than the legendary and hope-filled, friendship-powered Warrior of Light?
I don't think it's you say messy. I think it's pretty tidy. To me, the 100-year thing, missing your mark, that's an answer for me. Because otherwise I would have been like, well, why was he on the first 100 years early? And it's like, oh, we just screwed up. Didn't know what he was doing.
Well, and you have to have that. And I like the messiness too. You have to have that because otherwise we'd say, well, why don't we go back in time and save all of our friends? Like, let's just keep going back in time. Nobody ever dies in Final Fantasy XIV. We can go save every single person we've ever met. This introduces those paradoxes and allows it to be a one and done thing. Future expansions won't have to worry about Grahatia's magical ship flying in and saving the day. This also gets a little bit into maybe the capabilities of the engine, but also how they are presenting their game. The 8th Umbral Calamity is being shown very Shakespeare. Shakespeare was in a small little theater, but there was a lot of war talk. And what would happen? 2 characters would walk out on stage and say, do you see that? Whoa, what an epic battle I perceive over there. Thinking about Heavensward, granted, that's old. Things have developed a little bit. We've seen a lot more forces. We've seen the Alliance attack on Alamigo now, which was a lot more filled out than maybe Iceheart's 7 people that were supposed to be an army. But still, this game doesn't tackle armies of huge size. They come up with ways to circumvent that. Their story here has allowed for an entire apocalypse to happen off screen. And it works. It works to the benefit of the game. Because that would probably be cheesy to show off.
It'd be too much. It'd be too much. Because I think this is good editing. There's been times where I've been playing through and I'm like, I might cut this bit out. I might shorten this up here. Like there have been times in Shadowbringers where I'm like I would spruce this pace up a little bit. But this is a place where I look at it and I think they're intelligently editing like exactly how I would want them to, or like it really just works for me. We don't need to see that. It's not important. What's important is the outcome we're trying to avoid, and that's where they keep their focus. I mean, I wouldn't say no to a big war cutscene, but
oh, sure. How fun would it be to have another
Gimlet Dark?
Gimlet Dark, yeah, and make your way through those battlefields and do flashbacks and what have you. Be a bigger participant in the Xeno story that's going on. This game has so much story to tell, it doesn't even need an entire war. It can just have like that be screenshots. We're not even concerned about that. We have bigger fish to fry. If anyone's out there thinking to themselves, well, I like the way they did things, there's a moment here that I think describes why we don't have our big heroic pursuit of Emmett all by ourselves. Arbert says,
"Careful now. If you lose control again, the light could claim you for good."
Basically, whoa, you have to stay calm. And that's why we need all our friends to go with us. We can't gallivant on our own because we'd get into danger. We'd get into big battles. We have to rely on our friends while we're ill. We're sick with light right now.
So we ride a whale, we meet fish people, and it's time to talk about Amarat, right?
The breath of Bismarck. See how it swells to form a dome beneath the waves? The waters recede. The Tempest's floor is laid bare. In defiance of the blinding sky, this place holds fast to its gloom. The last refuge of he who denies the light with every fiber of his being.
They were so coy.
I see what you did there.
Fish pond. I love it. I love the mist. Now revisiting the Tempest, you can actually see the full city in the background, but this entire eerie fog, plankton. What's fog underwater? Pollution.
Have I talked about how I have my scuba diving license?
No, I don't think you've ever mentioned that.
When you go out scuba diving, if you go with the charter, they'll tell you what the visibility is for the day. Water just gets murky.
Yeah,
it can be pollution, but usually it's just sand and stuff is kicked up into the water. I'm having a personal experience with this video because all I want to do is talk about the end of Shadowbringers. And when I say we got on a whale, we met fish people, let's get to the end, it's not that I didn't like this. It's that I don't have a lot to say about this part. To me, this was like everything I have to say about this, it's on the stream. Like, I don't have a lot to look back on and reflect on this, but it's so good that it's here and that it's the length that it is, because it kind of lulls you back into this false sense of, all right, I'm playing an MMO. Time to meet it's gonna be one of those planets, huh?
Right, it's gonna be another one of those planets.
And then you get, it makes the Amarat reveal. Like, it makes it. Because this is so plodding and small potato compared to everything that follows.
It is a hidden city. You have to find it. It would be immersion breaking if it was just kind of right there, right? Like, it's that simple.
I'm impressed from a gameplay aspect. Like the fact that they have tech that keeps the distance in obscurity.
It made it feel like something big, scary, and Lovecraftian was just going to kind of merge its face. One big eyeball was just going to open on you.
I mean, it is kind of Lovecraftian. They literally are talking about the ancients. Like the Ondo refer to the Ascians as ancients. They think we've been like sent by them. They've made their village around these ancient buildings that no one can explain. And they've like within short order, you realize, no, it's not just like that the Ondo don't understand it. Like you get Y'shtola out there. She has us go and actually research these buildings and try to like scratch it with all our might. We can't even put a damn dent in these things. So it's like someone with Y'shtola's knowledge of the way ether and like just life itself functions, she can't figure it out. She's aghast with all of her great knowledge in this world. She is also dumbfounded by what we find down here. So it's all great because it's like it's so easy. Like, oh yeah, all the Ondo, they're just not a modern society. So that's why they think these buildings are so magical. But no, like immediately Y'shtola's just like this shouldn't exist. This doesn't make any sense.
And that makes it all the more impressive in a your brain notice way when those buildings are exploding in our finale because they're invincible here to a mithril knight. I don't craft enough to know like the tier system of metals here, but I assume mithril is a pretty high tier metal that should be able to do something to a building side.
I'm pretty sure people said it was like from a realm reborn, so maybe not.
Maybe not.
Whatever the case is, yeah, it's like all of it is in service of the escalation that is the finale of 5.0. We end up learning so much about the Ascians and their true power capability and how we're a drop in the bucket compared to what they could accomplish with their control of ether and just also the quantity of ether that they could control. That like it starts by saying, listen, the like ether constitution of these buildings goes beyond anything we've ever seen, and then we see that Ascians are also bigger. The threat that took down joined Ascians. We understand that their buildings are really powerful. Then we understand that they are really powerful and we pale in comparison. So all of it makes sense by the time you actually get to Amarat that whatever killed them off or made them so scared that they literally summoned Zodiark and then eventually there was this whole splintering and all that stuff. It would need to be a threat great enough to just wipe them off the planet. This is a brilliant revealing and order of reveals as we move through the Tempest.
Did it belong to one of my friends? I tried to give you a measure of privacy. No one wants a spirit looking over their shoulder every moment of the day. So tell me, if you would, how did you come across that crystal?
I've helped explain a lot today. I've used the game and its systems and the way it tells stories to help weave this system they've created together for their final presentation to build the drama of your approach to Amarat. I can't really explain Grendel and that big sort of thing that happened there. That was kind of weird. The guy lives underground in a tube.
It was a means to a gameplay end.
Yes.
It was a means to a gameplay end. This man has lived there. Also, clearly the mirror reflection of Garrett from Realm Reborn relic weapons, I believe.
Right. So this is like your relic weapon guy. You're getting introduced to him, much like your tribes earlier. You're getting to know all your systems that are going to be happening later on. Yeah,
because he's going to give us our super sweet armor set. And if you're a Dark Knight, you actually get to have the canonical armor set for Shadowbringers.
Yep. You get to dress up as Orianger. You got your nice pits on display. Grendel needs to be inspired. And so we got out all of our roll crystals and we're like, oh my God, be inspired by these. And granted, it was a reedy, but he did say crystals. Points first Ardbert, though, who said, hey, what was that crystal on the other side? Ardbert, please. Canonically, we have multiple crystals right now, sir. I'm assuming the role quests are going to continue at some other point. This would be a point where they require you do at least one of them, have some background knowledge of Ardbert's story before the big final moment of that story concludes.
I expected more here. Not gonna lie. I thought there was more to this. And I believe there's more, but it's not actually like a main part of the MSQ.
No, I believe it's part of 5.3, so it's going to be patch content.
Okay.
Where we'll have some sort of special end because we've gotten all 4 role quest dealies ready. But showing them off to a distressed shirtless man here, it was kind of a weird thing. Now, I have heard the little tidbit that Yoshi P wanted everyone to have their cool armor sets before the end. So for the big ending, they could all look cool instead of wearing, frog suits or whatever have you may have been chilling in. An interesting idea. And the loot was pretty good. Like, for some of my jobs that I hadn't just been gifted crafting gear. Thank you, everybody.
If you didn't have a streamer privilege, this gear would have gone a long way to help you be ready for the final trials.
There are item level requirements. Like, I couldn't run Mount Golg as my red mage because my gear was too low. But our crystals, of which we shall address further in the future and talk about those quests directly another time, inspire him to make the Fishman lamp, the super special lamp, and we go show it off, and then the Anno privilege us with the information to head down to Amarat.
What did you think about going and finding the structure from the cave painting?
I like that. I mean, I thought it was going to be a Yabby Jaw, spyglass thing. I really liked being presented an entire, almost unexplored map and being told, go. It's not something I particularly enjoy in, like, Elden Ring or big adventure games, really, because it feels like I can just look it up and then just skip it. But here, because we had poured over those images from the Ravel in our own videos and our own talks with each other, getting to bring that back in and go find that thing which is kind of embedded in your mind now, worked great. I can see a lot of people maybe looking at the buildings in the background and just completely missing this and taking forever. It was mere happenstance that we sort of focused on the front foreground building and found our location very quickly.
And we actually read the text, like the quest text says northwest. You got it right away. I didn't get it. I was like, this doesn't look anything like the cave painting. And then you mentioned the lower structure. I'm like, oh, gotcha. And honestly, Amarat doesn't really look at all like the cave paintings. They look like straight up New York skyscrapers, except for the twisty Lovecraftian tendrils coming up, which also aren't a part of the cave painting.
I took it more as, you've seen medieval drawings of like a lion, right? You come back and you tell a guy what a lion looked like, and they're like, well, I kind of know what like a dog and a badger look like. So let me kind of put some hair around its neck and we're good. So if you tried to describe a skyscraper to somebody,
okay,
they would take from it their understanding of maybe like a stone structure or what a temple might look like.
So that's why they all have like pointed tops. I guess they do kind of look like a Chrysler building without the pointy bit at the top.
Right, maybe you missed the antenna part when you were describing the story, or maybe just with mud bricks, this is kind of how your mind would describe it. And the Quitana Ravel was a interpretation. They had heard stories, gleamed stories. We can even kind of take information from Lost City of Amdapor, where wizards glimpsed another dimension. Glimpsed the first in some sort of dreamlike state and said, angel thing and lion wearing king hat. Let's embody those in our environment.
I'm going to ruin that entirely wonderful explanation for you.
Okay.
The actual structure we find that's lower is like a picture perfect painting.
That is true. That is true. Granted, if the visibility were clearer, you would see the towers in the background beyond that structure. So it would line up. It's just our visibility was really bad that day.
Convenient.
Final Fantasy is not a combat-based MMO. It's weird to say because Endgame is going to be all extremes and everything else. Learn your rotations, stand in the right place dances.
Get good, son.
Your MSQ experience is a story game. So I find this image to be right in line. I didn't find Kill 3 Crabs to be right in line because that's a World of Warcraft quest. What is it even doing here?
We're ingratiating ourselves to the Ondo. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just part of it. It was just part of it. And plus it was Alphino's idea, and his ideas always suck.
We're making ourselves useful. We're the type of person that if a friend let us stay with them, we're going to either make them dinner or give them some rent money or leave a nice gift.
The Warrior of Light always does the dishes.
I loved what it followed. The Ondo I thought were odd, and I don't think they're really going to stick with me, but I loved what followed. Descending the coral reef. I will never not love a shipwreck. If anything, my note here, my one critique is I would like more shipwrecks, please.
I love the way they spread out the characters throughout this so you could interact with them. They sort of led the way. It was a direct path. Like, you couldn't really get lost in the first place, but
couldn't get lost in the first place.
It gave you direction. It gave me that Mass Effect feel I wanted. We were questing with our companions. They were just kind of spawning ahead, phasing out. Doesn't matter. I have suspended my disbelief on that front for this game, and it was perfectly done.
I just was taking it in. I was enjoying the look of everything because I'm a sucker for a coral reef.
I'm a sucker for going down into the ancient depths. And after all that questing, after all that Ondo, knife scraping, cup making, crab killing,
there was Amarok.